Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Edrunners HQ and our Cyberpunk RED talk show, Night City Sofa. I am your host, Jesper, or Jess, alongside my co-host, Games End. Hi, buddy.
Hey, how's it going today?
It goes. And we're here with chat. Hello, chat. Welcome in, LCC.
Hi, chat. How is everyone today?
Welcome, everyone, to Violence. Well, yes. You are not wrong. So tonight it's part 2 of our review for Interface Red, Volume 5, and the supplement Solo of Fortune 2045. Again, the Interface Red books collect most of the free DLCs that released during a year's period and includes one piece of new content that is unique to that Interface book. We've gotten all about drones, something exotics, full body conversions, martial arts, and now Solo Fortune 2045. All about drones is really the only title that was accurate there.
Well, and I love it in your notes, it just says drones, exotics, full body conversions, but you're like, no, I'm going to say the title of the one I remember.
I was going to try to do all the titles, and I got past drones, and I was like, I don't remember. Shit. So, Cyber Fist of Fury. That was the martial arts one.
Good job.
There we go. Going Metal.
Think I would know
Going Metal
any
was
of
the
these.
FBC one.
Nice.
Yeah. Exotics. Yep, it's exotics. All right. I don't remember.
No, you're good.
I think it is actually. I think the word exotic is actually in the title, and that's
It is.
why I'm
sure.
failing a little more than normal. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, purchasing the book doesn't just get you fancy new content, but it also really helps support the company who produces all this monthly content for free. So if you've got a few bucks kicking around, you can go and pick it up. It is now available as print on demand in standard quality or premium print, which just makes the colors richer and looks a little fancier. But you can go and pick those up now over on TTRPG.
That was as of this week that they opened print on demand, isn't it?
Yeah.
A couple of days ago?
A couple of days ago. Okay, so part 2 of Solo Fortune 2045. If you missed...
Oh, yeah.
What?
I was going to say, if you missed part 1, we did all the fluffy, easy lore bits.
In the last video. You can check that out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, under Interface Red review, this one we titled Solo Fortune Review. So you can go check that out. We also discussed the difference between mercenary level and street level missions in that one. So this one is just going to be mechanics and gear because there's a lot, and that's how we decided to divide the supplement.
Yep.
Alright. I suppose if you guys have any questions, of course, ask, comment. I'm gonna start with new attachments and sort of kind of range tables. So the first bit of new gear that we get in the supplement are 5 new attachments, none of which require an attachment slot. There's an attachment to allow most weapons to fire all non-basic ammunition of that ammo type. So if you have a shotgun and it fires shells, it can now fire with this attachment non-basic shotgun shells. I lost my spot in my notes. I'm sorry. There are 2 attachments that go to increase damage, one for bows, crossbows, and one for sniper rifles, both increased by 1d6. For bows, it means you can now do a maximum of 5d6 damage. It does not stack with the martial arts Kudo stance. Very important to note. And snipers can now deal 6d6 damage to a target, which is as much as a grenade. Which is crazy scary good. But the most exciting thing for me was the range table modification attachment. Now you can only have one range table modification installed at a time, and once installed, that weapon now uses its new appropriate range table. Most weapons can mod to a shorter range, their default, or of course a larger range table. And now, when I said this might, when we talked about snipers earlier, this might make snipers super happy, especially if they don't get the chance to use their sniper rifle in the streets, because most GMs keep combat kind of small. Like, the enclosures are the street is a very narrow map, and that optimal range generally isn't there. However, if you apply the sniper scout range modification, you now use the scout rifle range table. So at a range of 13 to 25 meters, the DV drops from 25 to 19, which makes it a lot easier to hit. Anything. And of course, as an added bonus, it doesn't require a tech skill check to apply. So for those of us who have dumped our tech stat, we can apply this range table modification without a worry.
Well, and I was going to say the DC on most of the other mods in this are DC 17 with knowledge of weapons to install, but the range modifications doesn't have that qualification on it, so.
Right, yeah. Most are like weapons tech, DV 17, I think?
Yeah.
Yep. So, find a tech. If you're not a tech, find a tech. But for this one, you don't need one, so that made me insanely happy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, almost every weapon type has like a, if you want a shorter range optimization other than its default, and a longer range one, there's a new chart for that. So go and
which
check
is amazing.
those out.
Super helpful.
LCCA, do you see your question? You said for after the assessment. Is that the assessment of everything? I assume, based on the rest of the question. But let me know. Yeah, okay. After everything. We will answer your question after. If I don't, please remind me. Like, just spam chat. Until Nightbot yells at you.
I'll try to remind you also.
Until Nightbot... Until Nightbot says otherwise. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Games.
Sure. We get some other exciting things. 2 new weapons types, technically. So I'm going to be covering the Auto Fire Heaven and Bullet Hell section. And what they've done is they've added weapons category Machine Gun, which doesn't have a generic. And they added weapons category Machine Pistol as well. Which also on the new range charts, it's got both of those, which is nice. The attachments that they have for these to turn any pistol into a machine pistol, the Auto Sear, it doesn't take up a slot, and it turns it into a Machine Pistol 3. It can go on any of them, except for things that fire not pistol ammo. If it fires like slugs, shells, or arrows, it's not applicable, but otherwise it'll work. They also have the attachment for installing making your shotgun auto, which is awesome. And I love that on here it talks about how any attempt to dodge is at a -3 penalty against an auto shotgun. So if your GM likes to put people who can dodge bullets into the game, get an auto shotgun. It helps level the playing field. And then it's got the internals for the SMG also. And then it goes into, it talks about how they're doing a new formatting in the books for describing weapons, which I like. Did you look over that at all, Jess?
Yep. Of course I did. I looked at everything in this book.
Well, I know you did. But, I mean, do you remember offhand the way that they changed it? I like the new layout because basically the way they're doing it now is they're putting the name of the weapon and the cost at the top, right? The information that you need if you're just scrolling for like, oh, I want to own this gun, how much is it? But then under that is the flavor text, which has the in-world lore stuff, and then below that the classification, skill, range table, all that stuff at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And it's all very clearly laid out. Like, it used to be a lot more condensed, and then the lore was at the bottom of all of them. Yeah, because typically it would say, like, this is a blah, 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 SMG, blah, 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 blah. and then at the bottom it would have whatever the flavor text is. Now it moved it further to the top and moved down like the rate of fire and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think it gives it a lot cleaner of a look, and it gives me like the first information, which gives me the quick like how much does it cost, and then like the rules stuff is all lumped together also. So I like the way it's broken up now. In here, we've got a series of guns that are going to fall under the machine gun and machine pistol line. Also, they've just got new sniper rifles and all kinds of stuff. A couple of standouts in here. They have, what's the name of it? I apologize. There's one that like is a railgun. 30 seconds, and I will tell you the name of it. That has, it's like a backpack fed chain gun that has like watertight tubing that feeds the bullets from the backpack. So it's like incredibly cumbersome to carry. But, you know, when you're going for like fully auto, this is what you want.
The
railgun that I was thinking of.
Victoria.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's crazy. Like the description of like how it's constructed and everything. I don't think it's fairly unwieldy, and I can't imagine that being your everyday gun. But also the railgun I was talking about, the Tsunami Arms Death Twin. I like that it's like this is in theory the most powerful weapon that can be wielded by a person, but like it's designed for ACPAs. Like don't get it twisted. It is a very powerful sniper rifle.
I feel like we're biased because we aren't like we're not big bulky characters in our game. You know, like I could see Angus would have carried the Victoria easy if he wanted to, just on as a daily thing. He would have, you know, but he was built as a tank.
He was built different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like the railgun, it says that the requirements to wield it is a body 14 to wield it standing, or if you're prone, it's a body 12. So
okay, yeah.
That's pretty intense.
You just need body 8 at character creation and 2 installations of grafted muscle and bone lace. You're fine.
Right.
That's all.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun weapons in here just reading through it. We also get JZK mentioned in here in the Scatter Rattler, which is a gun that is this massive tech-printed weapon. Resembles the ergonomic metal skull of a rat with twin barrels erupting from its eyes. I like that it has to say in the description of it, it's like, yeah, you can't like do aim shots with this truly bizarre artistic weapon.
So, yeah. Well, yeah. Also, just to know, it's the work of Blue Raven, formerly known as JZK. So this is the same Blue Raven that's in the Midnight Arms ad that we talked about before, with their special designer fancy weapons.
Yep. But I mean, its capacity for ammo is 56, and its damage is 46, rate of fire 2. So as far as SMGs go, it's pretty awesome, even though it's a giant chrome rat skull. So.
I just saw that a nomad may choose to receive this weapon when they first install a vehicle heavy weapon mount. And that is incredible. Yes. Yes.
There's a lot of really fun and interesting lore in the weapon stuff. A lot of it I'm not going to spoil, but it's all just like small stuff about like, designers and things like that. So worth the read for sure. And these are definitely more powerful weapons than we're used to seeing on the street.
But because this is for mercenary level, so
yeah. They're fun to look at, but I'm not sure we would be allowed to buy any of them.
No, probably not. Probably not. On the other
With
hand,
that, though, I'm gonna.
I do
I'm
think
sorry.
ammo and some of the explosives and other things. Maybe see my segue. Did you catch that? It was almost smooth.
Yeah,
It was
got
almost smooth. Might be things that you could get on the street conceivably. We'll argue about that later because that pertained to LCC's question. But for me, ammunition is like just as important as the weapon you wield because it can significantly affect the flow of combat. And with Soldier 2045, we get 7 new types of ammo, including burrowing, explosive, high precision, high velocity, hyper expansive, serrated arrow / hollow point, depending on which kind you're using, and tracer ammo. They're all incredible. They're all highly useful. I want to talk about all of them, but we don't have the time. So I chose the main one we're going to talk about is the serrated arrow / hollow point ammunition, because this thing is a beast. 10 rounds only cost 30 EP, so it's not that much more expensive. Obviously you can get it for arrows, bullets, and slugs. Or I should say, obviously arrows, because it's rated arrow. But additional bullets and slugs for hollow point. The first time you cause a critical injury with this ammo during an attack, you increase the target's base death save penalty by 1. So even before they start making death saves, if you crit, it goes up by 1.
You're messing up they're
automatically worse off. If they're already making death saves, this stacks with that additional penalty that they would get for taking the hit. So now it's up by 2. As an added effect, anytime you cause a critical injury with a hollow point round or a serrated arrow, if the critical injury you roll is for an object, you roll again until you get something else. The target suffers both critical injuries, and both injuries deal bonus damage. So with the first critical injury shot, you have a chance to increase their death save penalty by 1 and deal an additional 10 points of bonus damage directly to their HP, not to mention the effects of whatever 2 critical injuries you just caused.
Yep.
And that is terrifying. And of course, with the increased damage we saw for sniper rifles with that new attachment, and bows with the new string, it's easier to get a critical injury than ever before. So, it's scary. It's scary good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, were you going to say more?
No, you're good.
I really like I think it's explosive ammo, which I am planning on picking up for my character. The only thing I have to remember, and I have to put this somewhere in like massive caps lock, so explosive ammo deals a critical injury on a 5 or a 6. So critical injuries count on 5s and 6s. But you can't make aimed shots with explosive ammo. Which makes sense. I have to remember that, because I'm notorious for making headshots, and I can't with this particular ammo.
Assuming that you can get some of this ammo.
Yeah, assuming I can get. Given that it's the same cost as like incendiary or armor piercing,
it seems like it's fair game.
I feel like it's okay, but we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Our GM has said essentially I can have it until he decides it's too OP.
That's been his ruling on the supplement.
Because he hasn't run it yet. I'm sorry, LCC says expansive. I can't, my screen is dying. The hyper expansive ammo?
LCC says that explosive ammo incurs a -2 penalty on attacks made with it. So it basically negates your weapon's EQ and has an SGL.
Mm. Yeah. But that's, I mean, honestly,
The trade-off there.
my handgun skill is so high, and with like, mod attachment, I can now shoot farther away with, like, I still gonna hit, I'm not concerned. So yeah, all the ammo has really cool effects. Go check them out.
For sure.
We also get new explosives. We get C9. Well, we guess we get details on C9 explosives. There's the C9 charge, the kill switch, a mini C9 charge, and the Highland Defense sticky bomb launcher, which launches the mini C9 charges. So C9 charge costs about 250 AB, which is like almost double the cost of a grenade. But it can be planted as an action on any surface. When you plant the explosive, the user makes a demolition skill check of a DV-17. If they succeed, it deals 8d6 armor-piercing damage. If they fail, it deals 5d6 armor-piercing damage. And I am a huge fan that if it fails, you don't just like blow yourself up. It's just like, nah, it just does less.
It's not effective, yeah.
It's just less effective, and I am a huge fan of that. Once the charge is planted, you have to set it either to remote detonation within a mile or on a countdown, which can be anywhere between like immediate to up to 1 week, which is kind of crazy. No, it does take 30 seconds or 10 rounds to become armed, so regardless of remote detonation or countdown, you have 30 seconds before the C9 can be detonated. So even if you set it to immediate, that's 30 seconds. You have a 30-second window to GTFO.
Right, and 10 rounds is quite a bit of time.
In combat, yes. Absolutely. Outside of combat,
Right.
Now, to defuse a C9 charge, it takes an action and a demolition skill check. It has to beat the skill check it was planted with. So if you fail to disarm the C9, or you attempt to move it without disarming it, it does explode. And this is a note that if you plant one, and then later go, oh, we don't need it there, or the target moved, we need to pick it back up, you have to beat your original skill for placing it. So if you're like, I'm going to use all my luck and make it real difficult to disarm, make sure that's exactly where you want it placed, because if you have to go, oh shit, we need to move this now, that might be a problem for you. 86 is no joke. I can see that. Maybe it's just because our GM likes to change things up all the time, but I could see us like planting a thing and then having to move it and be like, oh, we're never getting this. We're screwed.
I'd be like, no, you know what? It lives there now. We'll get some new one.
That would honestly be better for us.
Yeah.
Exactly. I pray you didn't roll a 10 on top of that. And pray you don't roll 1 when you try to disarm it. Lastly, in this section, there are other surplus items, which includes a bunch of things. So there is a authorization handshake port, which is an alternate interface plug access port that can be installed on an ACPA or external linear frame to prevent them from being used by unauthorized users. There are three new types of Metal Gear: Heavy, Hybrid, and Light. They all give increased protection, either for, increased penalties or decreased armor for a little bit less in terms of penalty. And then there's the Militech Big Boomer, which is an insane, very heavy pistol capable of auto fire. And lastly, a thermal decoy, which is the perfect thing to trick smart and tech weapons and potentially an actual human when viewed through night vision, low light infrared, or UV. I would love to use the thermal decoy. We'd never be able to pull it off.
Yeah, it would never go as planned.
No.
I know better.
Yeah. So there is your new gear in terms of ammo, explosives, and other.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff.
And what if hardware isn't enough? What if you need another edge. I'm actually going to be talking about the combat through the better living through chemistry, better killing through chemistry section. So we have a lot of new types of drugs and some air hypos and burst ammos and stuff like that. Did you see the air hypo ammunition in this section, Jess?
I did.
Remember when you and I were talking about like air hypo arrows and stuff like that? It's
Yes.
right here. There
Yes.
are rules for it. It's right here.
No.
I love in as far as like the items before we get to the drugs, the multi hypo. It says that you can put what is it, 4 different doses of 4 different drugs into it, to be administered all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So up to 16 doses can go in it, but it will not let you put more than one of the same thing into different slots. So there's no way to like double dose somebody with the same drug.
No. Multiple doses of the same drug cannot be injected simultaneously should they be loaded into separate reservoirs. So if you wanted to load the entire thing with speed heal, you can.
Right, but it wouldn't inject
it's not going to
4
double
at
inject.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to waste anything.
That's what I was saying, is that it's got that safety catch on it.
Yeah. But the fact that
which
you
is
can
nice.
dose 4 different drugs at once, street drugs, is
crazy.
Actually, it's not street drugs. It's anything, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay,
anything
drug,
that can go
just
in
a
an
drug.
air hypo.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then after that, we've got all of the new drugs, which are fucking terrifying. We've got stuff in here like, did you read Mindfire? Mindfire is basically, it's a drug that when given to somebody, it gives them a migraine. And it's like, this is a good distraction to use against enemies. Like, no, as somebody who suffers from migraines, that's fucked up, homie. Like, giving people migraines. And it says that if they don't have a pain editor, they suffer 1d6 humanity loss from this. That's something in here. Almost all of these drugs cause all of the effects in some way involve humanity loss, which is crazy. I'm trying to find... Oh, this one right here. Deliriance? Is that how you say that one?
Delirium.
Anyway,
yeah.
it's a drug that basically it causes you to have tactile hallucinations. Well, the person who's injected with it to have tactile hallucinations, and it says that it's not addictive, but if the user is currently addicted to blue glass, they suffer 1d6 humanity loss. I like that specification on this one. That it's like, this is the only time that there's a drug complication is if you happen to also be addicted to blue glass when you take this.
Because you're already on hallucinogenics.
Right.
Extra
Yeah, your body's just like,
hallucinogenics.
nah.
Yeah. It's real not good.
But yeah, so, and then there's things like Mortis, which secondary effect is that it causes, the user must take death saves, and if they fail, instead of suffering death, they suffer brain injury and confusion critical injuries without any bonus damage. Like, these drugs are all like with the story that came before this when she was like, hey, we invented some bad drugs and it's scary that they're getting on the market. Going through and reading the effects of all of these drugs, they are all terrifying, and it's a real bad thing that they've made it into the market.
Half of them have.
Right? Yeah. So. Yep, that was chemistry. Check out all the new drugs. Oh, I do want to specify before I move on. When I was talking about the multi-hypo, it does say that you cannot possibly use it on an unwilling person that's conscious. It says that because it's unwieldy, it's not possible to do that. Just to clarify, for anybody who's had any big ideas.
No, the answer is no. It's important.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, LCC added that the primary effect of Mortalis is you take the mortally wounded state, meaning you
Yeah.
take a critical injury whenever you take damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's intense.
It's scary. Okay, I think with that we get to move on to ACPAs.
Yeah. I think that's where we're at.
Assisted combat power armor.
Yeah.
Alpacas.
And
It's not alpaca, but that's so much easier for me to say.
that's how you remember it.
Alpaca, yeah.
Basically, they're kind of like the power armor suits from Fallout. It's like a Metal Gear suit that you were literally like locked inside of. You use your skills as the pilot to try to do things. It is based on your character's skills, and yeah, basically, it's a shell that helps you prevent taking damage to yourself and makes you a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, it's like you're inside of a vehicle. But it's your skills. So they were used largely during the Fourth Corporate Wars, and they are very, very expensive, as Jess and I will talk about here in a moment. And so that's why they're prohibitive, and it makes sense that they would be mentioned in this book, because in a street level game, you will most likely never see one of these because most people don't have them. So
Also, seeing one of these run down the street would be a huge deal.
Yeah, that would that would be intense.
Yep. So just a quick recap kind of the alpaca section. When ACPA is reduced to 0 HP, it's considered destroyed. It ceases to provide any protection or functionality to its pilot. But on the plus side, exiting it doesn't require an action at that point. You just kind of walk out of the hole. Your suit is too damaged to
crawl
function.
out of the hole.
Yeah, you just leave. Yeah, okay.
Well, and on that point, the arms and legs aren't considered weak points for the purpose of called shots. It's all considered one unit.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All power armors are built around a linear frame. This increases, and any increase to the body because of the linear frame doesn't affect the pilot's body stat. These are two separate stats. There is your power armor, your suit has stats. You have your stats. They are separate. So if you have a linear frame that's a higher body stat than your ACPA, you keep yours. It's fine. That doesn't change its body stat. Yours doesn't change. They're separate things. The arms are treated as cyber arms for the purposes of damaging cover, and legs are treated as cyber legs for the purposes of falling. In terms of wielding weapons, it's the same as if you were to wield a weapon, except any two-handed weapon that's not a bow can be wielded in one hand, which makes this absolutely terrifying. Now, pilot is able to use an ACPA's onboard weapons and cyberware, so long as its HP is above 0, obviously. Onboard weapons don't take up a hand slot. Any weapon installed as an onboard weapon is considered to be connected to the pilot via the appropriate number of interface plugs. As such, an onboard weapon cannot be disarmed. And all ACPAs contain a sensor suite that operates like radar sonar implant that can scan out to 100 meters or yards. Now, these suits don't have a reflex dex or movement stat. They use the pilot stat for these. They can be positively or negatively affected by the suit, however, but you still use your character's stats when dealing with that. It's also very rough on the pilot's senses and brain to pilot.
Be connected.
Be connected, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any pilot who spends more than 4 hours per day piloting an ACPA suffers a -1 to all checks until they complete a day of rest, with the exception
Yep.
of pilots who have rank 4 or higher in moto or interface. So if you have Nomad, 4 ranks at least in Nomad, or as a Netrunner, you're better attuned to handle this kind of stress, so you're fine. However, all pilots, no matter your role ability or FBC status, who spend more than 8 hours suffer a -2 penalty until you take a day of rest. It is draining.
Well, and I assume it's because, yeah, it is so disorienting. Like, being in a VR is now. Like, if you play VR for too long, it's very disorienting when you take it off and the, reattuning to reality.
Yeah, this is exactly it. So you need at least a full day so that you don't take any penalties. There is a small section on bullet dodging. You need to meet one of the requirements in order to bullet dodge in your ACPA, even if you couldn't outside of it. If you don't meet any of the requirements, you cannot bullet dodge, even if you could on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And finally,
I love the name of that section, too. It says there's no bullet dodging in an ACPA unless...
and you only have to meet one criteria, so...
Right.
Out of 4. But if you don't, then you can't. Even if you could outside of it, you can't. Finally, a tech cannot use their field expertise to jury rig a repair on an ACPA. Can't be done. They do have their own repair DV end time, as stated in this book. Yep.
And then next, there's a section about how to build your own. But we were going to highlight some of the pre-built ones real quick, and then come back and maybe build our own. See how it goes.
Yeah. Game's gonna start with the...
I was checking the notes to make sure I
ACPA
wasn't
that
stepping on any toes there.
he likes the most.
Yeah, so I picked the Arasaka Shin Dai Oni, which is a giant badass. Do you have the image pulled up?
Mm-hmm.
I love the Oni mask, like the horns coming out the front of it on the suit. This thing would be terrifying. Less like the fact that this thing's already 61,000 EB, like price-wise, so if you saw this, there is some serious shit going on anyway. And if you saw an Arasaka, ACPA in Night City, that would be a problem. But it's terrifying outside of that. Basically, this thing has 39 hit points, a SP of 19, body of 16, but a -1 move. It is a heavy Metal Gear shell, so this thing is a tank.
Or as LCC says,
chonker. Right, yeah. Basically, this thing, because I looked through all of them, and there are some really neat ones in here. This is the one I would have been most terrified of to see on the street. That's why I picked it to talk about it. Also, I don't know if you ever played the MechWarrior games that they had, but they have a MechWarrior game for the PlayStation 2. Mm-hmm. And so I loved Death from Above, which was where you launched your jump boost and then just came down on somebody. And so this has jump boost and targeting scope in it. And I just picture one of these down on somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that would be horrifying.
Yeah. Imagine walking out of a warehouse into an open area and then this thing comes off of a roof.
Yeah, no. Nothing. And how much does your chunky boy cost? Remind me?
Only 61,350 EB. It's very affordable. Do you think that most mercenary level could get this as part of their operations budget.
I'd have to go back up and look at what your operational budget is, but I'm pretty sure unless you're doing like the deadly ones, the answer is fuck no.
Yeah.
Sorry, these Pielson Morgan fought that thing. LCC says, fun fact, that happened to us during playtesting. It jumped through a ceiling and was just like, sup, bitches? 'Cause that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like on the completely other end of the spectrum, I'm going to talk about the Zetatech Grasshopper, which is actually affordable at $11,600.
I could buy 2 of these.
It's also your band could, yes. It's also the lightest of all the ACPAs. Due to its size, it can fit into the passenger seat of an unmodified vehicle, and that generally means you can actually see Grasshopper pilots riding motorcycles, especially in like urban combat areas. Now, given the fact that it's very mobile and it's very light, it doesn't have a lot of protection. It only has 18 hit points. Its SP is 15. Its body stat is only 12. It's not going to do a lot. But you get +1 to your move, which is very nice. Your onboard weapons is just the Militech Big Boomer, which came with a supplement, and the onboard cyber includes interface plugs and skate feet. It's going to be a little faster. But one of the reasons I liked the Grasshopper, is because it doesn't have any penalties. And Moxie has a dex of 8. And one of the rules for bullet dodging is if you have a dex of 8, and your keep on calling it a mech, your ACPA doesn't give you any penalties, you can dodge bullets. So if Moxie were in this power armor, even though normally she couldn't dodge bullets, she can dodge bullets in this.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, I like that this one makes you slightly better than your human self, but not like so much better.
Not a lot, yeah. Baby's first ACPA.
Yeah. There's a reason this one's affordable.
Yeah. But there are tons. We decided to pick one of each, otherwise we'd spend way too much time talking.
This section's really cool.
Yeah. The various ACPAs, but go check it out. It's absolutely incredible.
All right, Jess, you feel like building one, or do you feel like arguing about what parts of this are okay for a street campaign first?
No, let's finish. Let's build them. Although it took me longer than normal to realize that on their each kind of like template of these ACPAs. I do love how it looks. I like that there's like a little blueprint and then the information. And in the top right corner, there's like letters, A's and B's or whatever.
The
and
code?
That relates to this section. I was like, oh, that's smart. That's clever. It took me way too long to figure that out. But I thought it was very clever.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's important for us to know what we want to do when we're building this ACPA.
Sure. We have to have purpose.
Yeah. So what is our purpose?
So who's ordering this ACPA? Corporation stopping a nomad group from smuggling in off-brand drugs. So you're corporate mercs trying to stop a group of nomads. Okay. But they outnumber you by a lot.
Sure. Okay. You want to build a chonky boy, is what you're saying. You want to build a tank.
Not necessarily.
That's what you're
saying. Because you could do this in a lot of ways. Okay, what's your counter pitch?
No, I don't have a counter pitch. I like that you gave up on the drug section just to be like, there are a lot, though. There are a lot. We can build a chonky boy. I'm fine building a chonky boy. So step 1, choose the linear frame.
Yep.
I feel like if you want a chonky boy, it's gonna be an Omega.
probably, I think we could probably, because this is going to be in that middle tier, I would say. Whereas we may be outnumbered, we're not probably outgunned. So I'm thinking you could probably get away with a beta.
Okay.
If we're trying to save money.
We're not. We work for a corporation. We have all the money we want. So what do you want to build?
Let's do an Omega then.
All right. I don't know that I need to write all this down, but I'm going to. Okay, so we have body of 16, 32 HP, which gives us a 3 move. So fast, which is nice.
Yeah. Until the next section.
Next, choose an ACPA shell. Savage. No, I'm joking. Not for
Right. I don't think we want to sacrifice all of our move. So I'm thinking maybe the hybrid Metal Gear shell. Because if we're facing nomads, we're going to have to not be completely stationary.
SP-17 is also solid. That's not easy to get through.
No. And it gives us, an admirable plus 10 to our HP.
Okay. Why does that one have a weird price point? James, why? He hasn't answered so little fortune questions. Maybe I'll ask. So it's SP-17 plus 10 HP. And then minus... No.
-1 move.
-1 move, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, what do we want to do as far as...
A convoy of like 2 to 3 vehicles, 10-ish people.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a little more than that, but that's okay.
Whatever the minimum is that we can justify buying this.
Justify. Okay, so to tune your HPA, you're required to decide option A or option B for each tuning. First, acceleration. Option A is -7 HP or -1 Dex. This is to cut the weight.
Yeah. So either it's unwieldy and slows us or messes with our dexterity, or we cut some of the armor to not lose the dexterity.
I feel if we're using this in a combat situation, do we care about like we don't know if our pilot has high enough dex to bullet dodge. Otherwise,
right.
Whether we're going to use melee weapon or ranged weapon.
Right. And I am more likely to personally sacrifice the HP to not take the negative to dex.
Okay. That's fine. That doesn't even get
just as a general rule.
10 HP we got from the Metal Gear. So -7 HP. All right. Hydraulics.
So our options are -1 SP or -1 move. A very similar conundrum. What are your thoughts? Because I'm willing to sacrifice the move on this one.
So am I, actually. Since we still have a net of +2, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like losing one more.
That was my thought too. I was like,
awesome.
One move isn't that big of a deal. But if you had like the heavy Metal Gear,
oh yeah,
that would where you're taking a -4 move. Yeah.
What did chat ask? Do you mind taking a look for me?
Sure. Are you building to be like a bombardier or a marksman, sniper rifle, or are we rolling up close? Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what that choice is going to force you into.
We haven't decided
As far
yet.
as the... Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah.
Maneuverability. Slimming down the legs, the pilot can twist the suit more readily at high speeds. So minus 7 HP or minus 1 reflexes.
This one kills me because I don't like taking the -1 to reflexes, like, for any reason. But we can't keep giving up our... we can't keep giving up all of our HP.
Yep, done. Wait.
We could get our HP back here, though.
Exactly.
Because our options are to get 7 HP back or +1 move.
Yeah, that negates the maneuver.
We're already happy with +2 move. Yeah.
So let's take our 7 HP back. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. 100%.
Okay. So...
And then I think our plan is to skip step 4, yeah?
Well, however we would go about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just calculating things. Give me a moment. Oh, I should do a different thing, not a dash. That's really gonna throw me off. So overall, before we include anything else, it has... Oops, I should have done... This is not in line with the book. Body 16.
Okay.
35 hit points. 17 SP. And +1 move.
You know, on a whole, I'm real happy with this.
Right?
Yeah, I would agree this is around that 30,000 EB mark LCC.
It's 25 for sure. I haven't added anything else.
Well, yeah, and we skipped over step 4, but step 4 is where you would decide on your onboard weapons and cyberware and stuff like that. So that would just hike the price even further. But this to me feels kind of like a luxury ACPA. Not that they exist, but you know, if businessmen piloted them, this is kind of what they would do. As far as the stats go,
No, this is Chunky
this feels
Boy.
approachable.
No, this is beyond that. This is definitely
it feels
one...
approachable.
No, one jump higher.
Okay, the head businessman.
Especially once you start adding in your cyberware and onboard weapons.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be effective, though.
The sticky bomb launcher.
Yes, we should have. Just shoot C9 out of it.
Well, if we're fighting nomads, put the C9 on the cars, blow up the cars. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Right, and what better way to stop the drugs from coming in than blowing them up?
Right? And can we have the backpack shotgun, too?
Yeah.
No, that's just a weapon that's not on board, right? That's just...
Yeah,
Just a
that's
weapon
just
we
a
hold in
gun.
our hand. Yeah, alright. But yeah, fairly easy to build one.
And that would be pretty powerful if you think about it, with the SP-17 and its hit points and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
This would be formidable. This would change the way a battle went.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm gonna scroll up and try to find... Do you have any final thoughts on alpacas? ACPAs?
I think they're cool. I think if you were doing a game where they were a focus in the game, you could do something real interesting with that. Like, I would tell a mech story. Like, what's going on in, I don't know, Peru right now. There's some mech fighting organization. I don't know, throwing stuff out there. But I think in my typical table, this is not something that would be necessary except for by like final boss kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
Like
maybe
if
the
you're,
lieutenant has one of these.
yeah, if you're building a campaign around like this sort of thing, um, like especially if like your whole campaign is your all pilots that use ACPAs, that's very different. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's absolutely awesome. And I love that it opens up the ability to tell that story now. Um, it would be different. I would say it would be different. I don't know that I could do that in a long form campaign. A short
Right.
series, absolutely. I think a short series could be really, really cool, but as for chat's question at the beginning of the stream from LCC, which of the additions from the supplement do you think would be fine at street level, and would you increase their cost or add additional stipulations to acquire them to balance if need be?
Sorry, I was laughing at chat.
LCC says, if you're in Jolly and give your final boss a shine to Oni because he won it in a giveaway. Perfect. Lovely.
That's awesome. I
I
love
support
that.
this.
um, I, honestly, most parts of this I'm fine with. The ACPAs and the drugs, I would limit greatly
Yeah.
and make very hard to obtain. But most of the rest of this, I'm fairly okay with. Now, if a team is going to like constantly be trying to use C9 to blow shit up, I think they would probably call some big attention to themselves. But outside of that, like, I'm fairly okay with it.
Yeah, I will say Rogue mentioned last week, we didn't get into it too much this week, we definitely didn't get into it last week, that all the combat drugs, for most of them, a lot of them, majority, do humanity loss damage, and that's significant. Games
Because
is
you can
also a
push somebody
very,
into Cyber Psycho.
if your players want it, they can have it, why not, kind of GM.
Yeah.
I tend not to be. I think there's a lot in here I think is fine for street level. A lot of the attachments I don't have major issues with. I think, however, the increased damage for bows and snipers, I would make it harder to access. Or at least, something like they have to attain X reputation before they can pick it up, because if you're trying to deal with that from character creation, that ups the entire scale. So I think maybe, I don't know, maybe with any of them it would be a progression thing. It's not something that you can easily get. It's something that you need to kind of like maybe work towards a fixer to have. But for the most part, like when the crew is ready to kind of get up to that higher tier, I think these are fine to add as they are. Maybe just in limited quantity, like you just don't have them as readily accessible every single time.
For sure. Well, and if somebody came to me at the beginning of a story, even me, who's very forgiving and like, yeah, you do what your heart says, and I'll follow it. If somebody came to me about like, hey, I want to do this with my sniper character, I would be like, I'll allow that, but so you're aware, if I'm allowing you to do that, the bad guys have this capability as well.
Yeah.
Is this a Pandora's box you're willing to open?
Yeah, that's always a thing. If your players can do it, so can the enemies.
Yeah.
Generally, the enemies, depending on which ones you're going up against, more readily than than you have.
Right.
But
So
the
I hope
drugs,
that answers the question.
I'd be very, the drugs I would be very skeptical on. Very, very limited quantity, if not. But again, like I mentioned last week, I think they would make a great plot of, get these out of your neighborhood. You're not using them, but they're
100%.
still in the world.
Or if they were like, I hate to say it this way, but like a season break kind of thing, like your character got dosed with red lace.
Yeah.
And that was like, hey, we're going to take a couple of weeks off for Christmas or something like that. So I'm going to do this as like a hook.
A cliffhanger thing.
And then, yeah. But red lace would not show up anywhere else in the campaign, but like right there.
I'm curious to know, like, if you could do a salvaged ACPA and have, like, as like a solo mission of just, like, once this is done, it's going to be damaged beyond repair to go up against a punk knot, because I feel like that could be so epic. Punk knot versus salvaged ACPA. Which will win in this ultimate showdown? I think that could be really, really fun. Now, would I give them access to ACPAs in general? Heck no. That's not the story I'm telling. Iron Man in the cave. Exactly. I think it could be a really fun, just like one-shot kind of one-mission moment of things that you don't get to keep. That could be really fun. I also think an operational budget, I know for Merc level, and we've talked a lot where there's this gray area between more than difficult missions, but not quite easy mercenary level, which is where we tend to play. Unknowingly, we tend to play. And I think an operational budget is fantastic. It doesn't have to come from a corporation. Like mercenary levels, when you are just being Black Ops, no ask, go, kill, do whatever, get out. Yes, it needs to come from somebody that's got like a lot of power. But if you say ran through, Hope Reborn, and try to be as spoiler free as possible here, those people, end up funding a mission here or there and give you that operational budget, I think that's perfectly fine. I think that opens up.
Or a fixer that's willing to loan you X amount of gear, like X value worth of gear, to do a job at like, okay, it's 200 EB for me to loan you this, but anything that gets broken or doesn't come back, you have to pay full price for.
Or if you use my Lawman homebrew, they might be able to requisition it.
Yep.
Which counts as an operational budget, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
Because same thing, right? They still have to return it, so.
I also, on your note of the scavenged ACPAs, I would love, as a thing, like if your characters were stuck out in the middle of the Badlands, in the middle of nowhere, they run across like a ACPA fighting ring, like a fight club of just scavenged ACPAs, and like they're not techs that understand how to build them and all that, so it's just an oddity to them, but I think it would be cool.
That would be fun. It'd be really fun. As for the guns, I did not. The ammo's fine. I'm not sure about the weapons.
Are you okay with the modification of pistol to machine pistol? Giving auto to... Okay.
Honestly, yes, because here's the thing. As someone who's used a character that's used handguns the entire 4 years we've been playing, right?
Sure.
If I switch to an SMG, I still use handgun as single shot, and it's still auto fire for the other thing. I don't get enough IP to put extra points into auto fire. So even if I have a pistol that can auto fire, I still need the IP to do it, which is a �2 skill, which I don't fucking have.
Right.
So I have no issues with a pistol being able to auto fire, because it's literally just a different type of SMG. Like, it's a different weapon. It does the same thing, pretty much. Like, pistols do a bit more damage. So, that I'm fine with. Railguns, But see, that's the thing. I would be fine with a railgun, but at the same time, it's something that people, like, often forget, is, like, what are you wearing when you walk into a certain place? Now, for example, Games and Hades in our campaign, spoilers, just went to Bellamia, this super upscale. In our game it was a club. And they didn't comment on what weapons they were carrying out in the open, but I'm pretty sure they are always carrying their weapons just in case. Which means Wraith has a katana strapped to his back. Deeps has a couple guns out in the open. I don't think it's anything like uber over that would cause a pause. But at an upscale club, they might have made you check those. Like, you can't just
I know,
walk,
I thought about that.
which you've never commented, because you're like, well, if he forgot, that's on him. But that is something, absolutely, if I was allowing these weapons, I'd probably be a little more conscious of as a GM of, can you just
Right,
walk
a railgun's
in?
never allowed in a corporate zone.
It's never allowed probably anywhere, because that's way too twitchy finger. Like, even in a dive bar, I'd be like, fuck no, get out. You're just here to shoot up the place. Out.
Right.
No. So walking down this, like, combat zone, hot zone is probably the only place that you'd get away with that.
Right.
If you were at my table.
What about the scatter rattler?
What about the scatter rattler? I feel like that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I again, it depends on what kind of, like, game you're playing, what kind of mission you're playing. I know, LCC, you mentioned you're starting off with that low level, every day, you're pretty much NPCs, learning to be edge runners, and at that point, no, you do not get access to the stuff in this book, because you don't know the people, and you don't have the street cred to try to make those connections.
Right.
But once they've done a few missions, then they've, earned that, or they've made that kind of contact, then yeah. I don't see why most of this cannot fit in this.
It's an expansion they can earn.
No. Outside of a few select things. Combat chemistry and ACPA is very, very, very exceptionally limited.
I would say those are the most overpowered sections of this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was Soul of Fortune.
2045.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Soul of Fortune 2020.
Right. We briefly talked about the mission that's in there, but you should play it and run it. It's awesome.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you for chatting about the supplement. It's a great one. They're all great. I feel like, though, this is one of those ones that has added... It's kind of like getting a DLC expansion for a game that you already love. Because now it's like, oh, we can go and get those harder missions now that we've, hit this level.
Well, and I would put this with only certain ones of the DLCs that have come out have done this, have modified the way you can play the game. I would say the building a mystery one, did somebody say murder? I would say the spy one, I don't remember the name of it. Going Quiet. I would say that certain ones have added to, like, the way the game is played, and other ones just add interesting, cool color to the world. But, like, this is in a classification of the ones that are like, this adds something new, to another level to the game.
Yeah.
So.
This changes how you can play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you guys all so much for joining us. If you want to connect with us outside of streams and videos, you can head on over to Blue Sky, Patreon, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, kind of all over the place. We will return next week to talk about February's DLC. I had a guess, and I was going to talk about it tonight, and now that I've suddenly remembered it, because I didn't write it down, I don't recall what my thought was. You know what it was? I was thinking it would be funny for April's DLC to be ACPAs by Sanru, the Hello Cutie line. ACPAs. That was my thought. Had nothing to do with February's. I feel like what we're going to see in the next couple months are going to relate to Night City 2045. Content that relates to the world that didn't fit in the book. Kind of like Everyday Citizens. Like, you can't talk about the everyday people on the street in a tour guide book, but we can put that out as a DLC.
Right, where they overwrote for the book, and then they're like, well, this doesn't fit in the book, so it's a DLC now.
So yeah, tune in next week, and we'll talk about whatever the cool new DLC is going to be. And with that, we bid you, farewell. Until next time. Yeah, for now.
Bye!